since working with Panic Proof Retirement, I don't worry about it anymore. I feel confident and comfortable that he could grow my nest egg and protect the principal. That was what my main thing. And really, he's done quite well since I've been retired, and I expect it to continue. I'm not worried about my holdings. They're in good hands, and I have confidence in the team. This is Michael Biondo. I'm currently retired. I was a computer graphics designer for General Motors for 37 years. For years, I was playing the market with my retirement fund at work, trying to buy low and sell high or whatever. I got to a point where I knew I was 10 to 15 years out from retiring. Back in 2012, I contacted Dan and we talked, and I decided to test run him, and I gave him about half of my holdings to play with. And little by little, I moved more and more to him, which made me worry less about day-to-day market activity as far as not checking numbers every day. I was checking numbers every day prior to that. Anyway, so at this point, I check the market maybe once a month, every other month. I don't really worry about it. And I've been very happy with what he's been doing for me. If I need an adjustment in what I'm getting out of my pension retirement fund, I make the call to the office and say, hey, I need an extra 5 grand this month, and I can get that money. Anyway, for me, it's hands off and I like it. I prefer it that way. I sleep easy at night. I wanted a professional to be able to tell me if I can afford to retire or not. 2012, I couldn't. 2022, however, I made that call. I made the call and we talked, Dan and I. He asked me what I needed, how much I needed on a monthly basis. And we talked some numbers and we both determined that I, yes, indeed, could afford to retire at this point. I'll be honest, it was about a year into it before I felt actually comfortable because you don't know how everything's going to work with your expenses and all that. But that's why I had a professional get involved in 2012 to help align my ducks in a row. If I'd have called him in 2022 without and said, here's my nest egg, it would have taken a little bit longer for him to figure out whether I could afford to retire or not. But being that he was my manager for 10 years before that, before retirement, and he was able to put it together pretty quickly. Prior to Panic Proof, I think my only experience was General Motors 401ks and pensions, company run things are all managed by Fidelity. And I talked to Fidelity on the phone, and then I talked to Dan, and I was the most comfortable working with Dan. He was able to explain things in layman's terms to me because I'm not a financial expert by any means. And I just feel comfortable working with Dan. You never deal with the same person twice when you're calling Fidelity. I like Panic Proof because I'm dealing with Dan. He's had several people working with him, working to help manage his clients. So I feel comfortable knowing I have a team there that can move my money when needed, where it's going to grow. And my biggest fear is losing the nest egg, obviously. The question he asked is, how risky do I want to be? And I said, well, I want something that's going to grow because I want to retire. I don't mind being somewhat aggressive, but I don't want to lose it all. I want to be able to retire. And so he was able to convince me that he could manage it. If you're thinking about working with a financial advisor, I would highly recommend Panic Proof Retirement because it is a more personal approach. You get to speak to Dan Casey or any of his people that he has in the office that are also experts in finance. I am so comfortable with my retirement.